there any way something can happen now, or this is just finished, this is over, there's nothing UEFA can do, or FFP, or the body that represents FFP, they can't go anywhere, this is over now?
This is it. The Court of Arbitration for Sport is the ultimate say in this. I mean, again, I think until we see the written reasons, I think we should withhold judgment on, because we don't know how much of it was time barred and how much of it was not proven. You know, in the immediate, I think we can talk about the sporting effects, but there is no appeal to this. Even the idea that City were going to take it to a Swiss federal court if they weren't happy or whatever, you know, that was all still pie in the sky, and very uncertain. The Swiss federal court would have to agree to take the case and everything. That's all by the by. More broadly,
I do think.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do think it's an opportunity now for, like, the European Club Association, the big clubs out there, the Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Man United, etc., to maybe now, having seen how FFP hasn't worked as they wanted it to agree on their own rules. So the clubs and UEFA maybe collaborate and agree on a set of rules going forward which will work.
So, why do you say FFP hasn't worked? The point of FFP was to make European football sustainable and investable. And this is where we should have a little sound effect for this, because it's my favorite stat. The year before FFP was introduced, European football as a whole, top flight clubs, lost 1.8 billion euros. The last 2 years, European clubs as a whole actually made money. That is an incredible turnaround in 7 to 8 years. Yeah, and that is down to financial fair play.
In terms of teeth and being able to punish clubs that have done wrong, it hasn't worked, has it? Which clubs have been on the wrong end of a UEFA punishment, apart from, you know, a few Turkish clubs and a couple of Italian clubs that have had the knuckles wrapped rather than properly punished? You know, Man City and PSG are the two big clubs that have, you know, that UEFA have struggled with over the years, and they've come through it unscathed.
They both got away with it, and I'm even saying that as a PSG fan myself. But we were lucky.
I think FFP will be reforming. There is a broader FFP argument, independent of all this, right? So you're saying tougher rules or whatever, and frankly, from Manchester City's perspective, Manchester City have officially said all along that they're in favor of FFP.
Yeah.
And I think big clubs will be in favor of FFP for the rules, for the reasons that we know, right? You can't spend beyond your means. So if you have a lot of revenue, as these clubs have, then you'll be able to spend more, right? That's all good from their perspective.
Yeah.
Now, the conversation has been about new owners and what can we do FFP-wise to allow clubs to come in to bridge that gap. Now that the European football landscape as a whole is actually investable and profitable, now that it is a real business, now that it is solid, should we allow people who come in to take advantage of this and say, yeah, listen, I want to breach FFP for 2 years, here's my business plan, and then in 5 years, I'll break even, and I show that I have all the guarantees. There's something called a voluntary agreement, which clubs can
already.
Yeah, but which is actually very difficult to use because you can only do it either when there's a change of when there's a change of ownership, or if you've never used one before. So I think they want to go further with this in relaxing this a little bit, encouraging the investment. Obviously, COVID-19 and what's happening this year is going to impact many things, so we don't know what the landscape is. But I think the way going forward is they're going to allow more of this. But Mark, this alone, and coupled with tougher enforcement, this isn't going to solve the issue of polarization and inequality in European football, is it?
No, I mean, listen, the whole idea of FFP from my point of view was to ensure that the established elite didn't get pushed out of what they have become used to over the last 50 years. So Man City and PSG are the bad guys in this because they've kind of tried to upset the established elite. And now this gives the opportunity to other clubs, perhaps like Newcastle, if their takeover happens as we think it might, that they will now be able to perhaps spend and disenfranchise the likes of Man United, of Juventus, of Bayern Munich. And that's what the big clubs don't want. There has to be scope for these clubs to grow. There has to be the opportunity for clubs to come have the kind of the financial fairy tale, shall we say, that Man City and PSG have had. Otherwise, it just becomes a bit of a staid picture. But one thing I have to say, Liverpool are the champions of Europe right now, the champions of England, and they've done it without spending any money in the last 2 years. They've done it with a sensible business model. They've done it to balance the books. So it shows that you don't have to spend hundreds of millions of pounds to get to the top. It does help if you've got a historic base to work from, but you have to leave the door open for the likes of Man City and PSG and perhaps Newcastle and other clubs that may have money. I mean, we've seen other clubs fail. Look at Angie in Russia. They failed miserably because it didn't work. So at least the club, Man City want one thing. They've spent a lot of money, but their business plan and how they've run the club has been exemplary in terms of they've picked the right people, they've picked the right players. So it isn't all about throwing money at it and hoping it sticks. Some clubs have thrown money at it and been massive failures.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. I think what City have built, regardless of, and look,
and they did reach in
2014.
Yeah, sporting wise, they deserve to be.
There's no question about that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.